Good morning, Lawrence. Mr. Rourke greeted his assistant with a warm and pleasant demeanor, ensuring that the morning air on Fantasy Island felt just as welcoming as his words. Smiles, everyone. Smiles. He reminded the staff, emphasizing that their expressions should reflect the joy of the tropical paradise they operated. Lawrence looked out toward the arriving guests and asked if that was the young lady Mr. Rourke had been telling him about. Mr. Rourke confirmed this, stating that it was indeed Miss Fancy Summerfield, who once lived in Sylvan House. Lawrence, being knowledgeable about the geography of the estate, remarked that it must be the magnificent chateau on the North Shore. Mr. Rourke agreed, adding that her father and he were very close friends. He explained that when her father passed away, the chateau was sold and Miss Summerfield went to the mainland to live with relatives, noting she was in her early teens then. Lawrence found it charming and romantic that she had now come back for a fantasy. Mr. Rourke explained that Miss Summerfield's fantasy was to spend a perfect weekend with the man of her dreams, the man who will truly love her. Lawrence observed that a young lady of her obvious charm shouldn't have any trouble in that regard, but Mr. Rourke counterbalanced this by stating that sometimes the obvious can be most deceiving. Lawrence then noted that the women's sports exposition being hosted that weekend was certainly attracting all types of people. Mr. Rourke inquired if Lawrence was referring to that dashing young man, Mr. Baker, and confirmed that Mr. Baker considered himself to be quite a ladies' man. However, looking at his friends, Mr. Rourke thought he should not harbor the same conceit. He pointed out Mr. Joe Manning, describing him as a different type altogether, shy and inhibited. Mr. Rourke noted that when it comes to women, Mr. Manning totally lacks Mr. Baker's competence. Lawrence harbored a sneaking suspicion that Mr. Manning expected Mr. Rourke to restore his competence, a suspicion that Mr. Rourke confirmed was well-founded. Mr. Manning's fantasy was to date for the first time in his life an exceedingly beautiful woman, a 10, as he termed it. Mr. Rourke found this rather prosaic, remarking that the man had seen too many movies, or perhaps one particular movie too many times. Turning his attention to the gathered crowd, Mr. Rourke formally announced himself as their host and welcomed them all to Fantasy Island. Miss Fancy Summerfield approached Mr. Rourke, expressing how great it was to be back on Fantasy Island, and asked if he would do something very special for her. Mr. Rourke assured her he would be delighted. She asked to be taken to see the old chateau. Mr. Rourke explained that the current owner was there for the Fantasy Island Wine Tasting Festival and probably wouldn't object, but mentioned there was a problem. Fancy jokingly asked if the owner had painted the house purple, but Mr. Rourke clarified that it was nothing like that. He explained that the owner, Mr. John McDowell, had a rather unsavory reputation and asked if the name was familiar to her. Fancy replied that it was not, and suggested there was no rush since they could see it tomorrow. Mr. Rourke countered that tomorrow might be a busy day and offered to take her in about 30 minutes. Fancy agreed but then inquired about her fantasy and what she needed to do. Mr. Rourke presented a gold coin, explaining that legend says if this gold coin is dropped into a fountain, the person who drops it will not only have the object of their love revealed to them, but will also have their most secret wish come true. Fancy asked if she would truly have her love and most secret wish, and Mr. Rourke gave his guarantee. After dropping the coin, Fancy declared that she had made her wish and told Mr. Rourke that he was the man she wanted and had always wanted, asking him to love her. She quickly apologized and asked him to forget she said that, suggesting instead that he pick her up for the chateau visit after she changed her clothes. Meanwhile, Mr. Rourke spoke with Mr. Joe Manning about his difficulties with women. Mr. Rourke asked if getting a date was truly that difficult for him. Joe admitted that he could get dates with less attractive women all the time, but never with the kind of girl he dreamed about, never a 10. Mr. Rourke stated that personally he was not comfortable with rating women by numbers because it seemed so superficial. Joe acknowledged that he might be coming on like a hayseed in heat, but expressed that just once he would like to make out with a beautiful chick to prove to Vinny that he could do it. Mr. Rourke clarified if Vinny was his friend, Mr. Baker, and offered Joe some coffee, which Joe accepted. Mr. Rourke then asked if Joe was jealous of Mr. Baker. Joe replied that everybody was jealous of Vinny because the guy was dynamite, comparing his romantic conquests to historical figures. Mr. Rourke concluded that Joe wanted to prove to Mr. Baker that he was capable of getting a beautiful companion of his own. Joe confirmed this but requested that it be done secretly, on the quiet, so Vinny wouldn't find out it was handed to him as a fantasy. Mr. Rourke assured him that all guests' fantasies were held in the strictest confidence. Joe showed a list of types to Mr. Rourke, stating he wasn't particular about hair color as long as the woman looked like Bo Derek. Mr. Rourke informed him that, unfortunately, that lady was already married. When Joe asked who else was available, Mr. Rourke handed him 2 passes that would allow him and his friend to go backstage at the Women's Sports Exposition, suggesting he might find the woman he was looking for there. Joe asked if Mr. Rourke didn't already have someone picked out, but Mr. Rourke reminded him that beauty is in the eye of the beholder and it was best for Joe to pick out his own 10. Backstage at the exposition, Vinny and Joe observed the women. Vinny asked Joe what rating he would give a particular woman, and Joe replied that he would give her anything she wanted. Vinny clarified he meant on a scale of 1 to 10, suggesting she might be an 8. Joe admitted it took someone of Vinny's experience to know the difference, but said he would give her a 20. Vinny, using a metaphor about a fox finding a henhouse, suggested they find a way in. Joe suggested walking right in, but Vinny pointed out the guard and the restricted access. Joe then revealed a VIP pass, which Vinny found fantastic. Before they proceeded, Mr. Rourke intercepted them, suggesting they should have a talk first. Later, Mr. Rourke spoke privately with Fancy. He recalled that many years ago they had a very special relationship, but reminded her that she was just a little girl then with a little girl's heart. Fancy countered that she was now a woman with a woman's heart. Mr. Rourke gently asserted that the kind of love she really wanted was not found in passion alone. Fancy challenged him, asking if he felt nothing when she kissed him. Mr. Rourke admitted he couldn't say he felt nothing, but advised her that she must leave Fantasy Island on the next plane that very tonight. Fancy noted that the bottom line was he made her feel a little better, reminded him of a promise, and asked him to take her to the chateau as planned. Mr. Rourke agreed, thinking perhaps it was a good idea to play the fantasy out. In a different part of the resort, Joe was waiting anxiously. He asked a staff member if there was any message from Vinny Baker, but the staff member noted Joe had asked the same question 2 minutes ago. Joe asked for more peanuts, and in his clumsiness, accidentally dropped the shells into a nearby woman's beer. Joe apologized profusely, calling himself a klutz. The woman, Paula Santino, was understanding, hoping only that the beer wouldn't stain her shirt. She offered to help him, but Joe insisted on handling it himself. Joe was visibly upset, prompting Paula to tell him to turn the motor off and not be so upset. Joe retorted that if he wanted to be upset, he would be upset. Paula remarked that he was really uptight, and Joe explained he was always uptight when he was stood up. Paula introduced herself, and Joe introduced himself in return. Joe asked if she was there for the sports exposition, and Paula confirmed she worked on the ski demonstrator. Joe asked if she was one of the girls in bikinis who skied on the treadmill, but Paula clarified she was just a salesperson and joked about her appearance. Joe encouraged her not to put herself down, saying she wasn't half bad. Paula thanked him. Just then, Vinny arrived, introducing Joe to a woman named Monique as an automotive expert. Monique asked if Joe designed cars, but Joe honestly replied that he was a mechanic who dealt with grease and wrenches, causing Monique to walk away. Vinny then introduced another woman, Angelica, the former Miss Western Canada, and suggested he and Angelica leave Joe and Monique to get better acquainted. After they left, Joe realized Monique was gone and offered Paula a beer instead. Joe then remembered something he had to do and prepared to leave. Paula expressed understanding, assuming it wasn't personal and that Joe was a nice guy. They said their goodbyes, leaving Joe feeling bad about the encounter. At the chateau, Fancy looked around and remarked that while things had changed, nothing had truly changed at all, expressing happiness. She imagined her father coming out of the door and a little girl with a ponytail peeking out from behind. She thanked Mr. Rourke, stating everything was beautiful and she felt they belonged there together. Mr. Rourke welcomed her home. John McDowell then appeared, questioning what he owed the dubious honor of Mr. Rourke's visit. Mr. Rourke explained that Miss Summerfield's father used to own the chateau and requested permission for her to see her childhood home. McDowell recognized Fancy, suggesting they had met before on the Riviera or in Monaco, but Fancy denied ever being to Monaco. McDowell praised Monaco as a sensational spot, noting it was where he met Giselle Corday, whom he introduced to them. Giselle expressed that she had heard a lot about Mr. Rourke. McDowell suggested that Mr. Rourke and Giselle get better acquainted while he took Miss Summerfield on a personally guided tour. Mr. Rourke declined, stating he wanted a word with McDowell, and suggested Giselle show Fancy around instead. McDowell agreed, and Giselle led Fancy away toward the bar. McDowell commented that Fancy was a very nice-looking and appetizing lady, but Mr. Rourke firmly stated that Fancy Summerfield was definitely off-limits to him. McDowell questioned if Mr. Rourke had a personal interest, which Mr. Rourke confirmed. McDowell accepted this but warned him not to push it too far, claiming no woman is off-limits if she doesn't want to be. Later, Joe and Paula reconnected over peanuts. Joe mentioned he ate a lot of peanuts whenever he felt down about himself, and Paula admitted she did the same. Joe asked if her party ever showed up, and Paula guessed he had found greener pastures, lamenting that she couldn't compete with the gorgeous girls at the exposition. Joe told her she was putting herself down again and called her a good-looking girl. Paula noted that previously she was not half bad and now she was good-looking, calling it an improvement. Joe clarified he was just trying to be nice, and Paula accused him of being sarcastic. Joe denied it, and Paula pointed out that he made it tough for a girl who was trying to make a pass at him. Joe was astonished that a girl was making a pass at him and felt he was still blowing it, lamenting that even on Fantasy Island he would be the only guy not to make out. Paula found his tale of woe funny, and Joe asked if she was truly making a pass. Paula thought they had gone beyond that. Joe, acting as Mr. Experience, referenced what happened with Monique and noted he liked to lead when dancing. Paula admitted the situation wasn't easy for her either and asked him to say something sweet. Joe apologized and Paula reassured him it was okay to come on to her. Paula explained she was trying to talk herself into something and needed his help to feel like the girl while he was the boy. Joe confessed he had never been able to say romantic things before because of a fear of rejection and laughing at himself. Paula assured him rejection was not the case here, as she was practically climbing all over him. She encouraged him to take a shot and say something romantic. Joe simply said her name, Paula, which she deemed close enough, and they left together. At the chateau's exterior, Fancy thanked Giselle for the tour. Mr. Rourke approached, asking Fancy if she had forgotten about him. Fancy said that wouldn't be easy to do and confirmed she was enjoying herself. She noted that inside the house nothing looked the same, but outside with him, it felt like it always was, only better. She asked if he would really send her away. Mr. Rourke firmly stated they could not play her little game anymore. Fancy reflected on her life of playing games, mostly with men where she was the loser, revealing she had been married at 17 to a boy who was as much a child as she was, followed by many other men. Mr. Rourke tried to stop her, but Fancy insisted she wanted him to know who she really was. She admitted she had messed herself up badly and wanted a chance to do things differently, to make a new start, believing Mr. Rourke could do that for her. Mr. Rourke offered to help her but not in the way she wanted. Fancy expressed a deep need for someone like him to make her feel safe, protected, and loved. When Mr. Rourke refused, Fancy bitterly accused him of thinking he was too good for her. She declared she would not make it easy for him, would not leave, and would take her fantasy wherever she could find it. Meanwhile, Joe and Paula were enjoying their time together. Joe joked that he could eat hubcaps afterwards and they would taste great, causing Paula to laugh. Joe asked why she was laughing, and Paula explained that if she didn't laugh, she would cry out of happiness. Joe admitted he had never been that happy until now. He noticed a little red on her lip and helped her wipe it. Joe asked if she really had to go back to work at the ski demonstrator, and Paula said she did until 5 o'clock. Joe asked her to say she couldn't wait until 5, and Paula complied. When Paula asked if Joe was a good liar, Joe admitted he was a very bad liar. Paula joked that he would be at death's door by 5 o'clock and promised to be there to save him. Vinny then interrupted them, asking Joe what had happened to Monique. Joe introduced Paula to Vinny. Paula excused herself, promising to see Joe later. Vinny joked that Monique had fallen into a snake pit, and Joe criticized Vinny for embarrassing Paula by asking about another woman. Vinny dismissed Paula as a less than desirable option, but Joe defended her, stating they hit it off well. Vinny questioned if Joe blew his chance with Monique for Paula, but Joe maintained he never had a chance with Monique and that Paula was a really nice girl. Vinny warned that the guys in the neighborhood would laugh, but Joe stated he didn't need any more heat from them. Vinny urged him to stop being a nerd, viewing this as their last chance to go out and secure highly attractive dates to make history. Joe worried about Paula, noting she was always being stood up, but Vinny dismissed it as unnecessary charity toward a lost soul. Vinny pressured Joe about whether Paula was someone he wanted to parade around in front of the guys on a Saturday night. Vinny told Joe to wait while he called Angelica to fix him up with someone better than Monique. At the wine tasting festival, Mr. Rourke addressed his guests, explaining that it takes a full decade for the soil and the vine to fully know each other so they can work together in harmony, giving each wine its own distinctive character. He introduced a distinguished Garmery Beaujolais from the host winery, Sylvan House. Nearby, McDowell confronted Gazelle, stating that even before she came to him with a story of preferring his company to Rourke's, he had her figured out based on their past in Monaco. Gazelle pretended not to remember, but McDowell reminded her of a wild party at a villa rented by a director. Gazelle told him to stop, and McDowell agreed not to blow the whistle on her as long as she remained polite, noting they needed each other because Rourke had turned her down cold. He suggested that together they could win and Rourke would lose, a deal that Gazelle accepted. Mr. Rourke then approached Fancy and McDowell, asking Fancy to leave with him immediately. McDowell intervened, telling Rourke to take it easy and let the lady decide. Fancy declared she was staying. McDowell stated there were no hard feelings and promised to see Rourke at the ball that night for a drink. Joe spoke with Vinny, complaining that the cruise was not working out and asking about the arrangement with Angelica. Vinny said he had to find her first and suggested she might be at the disco or that they would find other options. Meanwhile, Fancy asked McDowell why he hated Mr. Rourke so much. McDowell explained that he detested self-righteous men almost as much as he appreciated a desirable woman. Fancy noted that Rourke didn't think she was desirable, but McDowell countered that Rourke's only mistake was picking a man whose code of honor was stronger than his desires. A week